Okay, so now we're going to have a look at an update in the Sarah Sharif trial. And Sarah was this beautiful, beautiful little girl who it looks like allegedly has been murdered by her own father. One of these three murdered Sarah. Maybe accidentally, seems like it was probably an accident, but certainly the result of years of abuse, at least 2 years of abuse on this poor little girl, 10 years old. 10 years old. And here we have her father, Irfan. He's the prime suspect. He admitted to having beat her over years, legally, according to him. Legally, legally beat his daughter, but now she's died, and he was heartbroken on the phone. This is her Sarah's stepmother in the middle, and the other guy is Faisal, I think his name is. Let's just check their names, though. Really, their names don't really matter, do they? Well, they do matter until they go to prison, and then we don't care if we never hear their names again. They matter at the moment because we want to see justice for Sarah. But yes, so let's see. So her father is Irfan, the guy on the left-hand side. Her mother, her real mother, a biological mother, is a woman called Olga, Polish woman. And the woman in the middle here on this photo is Beinash Batul, stepmother. And they also had 4 children together, biological children of the 2 of them. And the other guy is Irfan's brother, which is not giving me a net. Faisal, Faisal Malik. So these are the ones that are accused of murdering Sarah. It's probably a combination, to be honest. A combination of neglect, abuse over 2 years of all of them, and certainly abuse, complicit abuse, because nobody, reported this abuse. So even if these 2 weren't involved and it was Irfan who was doing it all, why didn't they report it? Or vice versa, if it wasn't Irfan that was doing it and it was one of these 2, why didn't he report it? His own daughter. He allowed his own daughter to be abused in that way. And anyway, what we've looked at so far in the trial is, this was, I have to give you a warning again, this was real systematic, violent abuse. Sarah suffered from so many injuries. Now, this is Sarah's biological mother, Olga. She had to go and identify her daughter. She hardly recognized her. Her face was so swollen. She'd been beaten so badly. Now, this is Sarah as she would have appeared in the last few months of her life in the hijab, which apparently, we weren't sure at first when we learnt that she'd suddenly started wearing the hijab in the last sort of few months of her life, although now it turns out none of the rest of the family wore a hijab, none of the other children or anything, and it's felt like now that maybe they started dressing her in a hijab so that her bruises wouldn't show, which is very, very sad, isn't it? And also she was taken out of school for homeschooling. Big red flag, in my opinion. Depends on the circumstances, of course. I don't know what the build-up, the reason was. I don't know what the reason was that was given for homeschooling her, but, you just feel that we're homeschooling. Well, I'm not against homeschooling by any means, and some children do get very anxious, and depending on what the child, what problems the child has, sometimes homeschooling can be so much better, but it still has to be monitored. You just feel, is it being monitored properly? When a child starts homeschooling, are they not, it is a bit of a warning sign, isn't it? The hijab, and now it turns out some of the teachers had seen bruises on her, etc. There's a lot of clues in this case, a lot of red flags in this case that have never been addressed, were never addressed properly. And now, of course, it's too late for little Sarah. You know, hopefully she's sleeping in the arms of angels now and out of all that horror. I just feel that Sarah probably in the end just gave up because I haven't been able to find a particular cause of death. You know, obviously she had so many injuries, but they were struggling to find a specific cause of death for Sarah's death, which is even worse because, you know, how will that affect the sentencing, etc., or the verdicts? It's hard to prove murder if there's no cause of death. But anyway, that will come out as the trial progresses, I suppose. So there's no doubt it's not, you know, it's not a question. Well, it's sort of a question of who done it, because now out of these three twonks, Irfan left a note by the side of Sarah's body, confessing to murdering her, killing her. Not murdering her, but killing her. It was he who phoned the police, and we listened to the 999 call. But now he's changed his story, and now he's saying it was Binash, his wife, who killed her, and he was just covering up for her. I feel like Faiz Ali's going to get away. Well, he's going to get away with murder, literally, because maybe he didn't have any. I mean, he is complicit because he didn't say anything. He was living there. You know, he knew what was going on, and he didn't report it, and he didn't save that little girl's life. Nobody cared enough. We care more about Sarah than her own family cared about her. That is disgusting. You know, everybody cares about Sarah, who's watching around the world about this case, and her own family didn't. Disgusting. So yeah, I'm going to put Sarah's picture back up. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a catch up. So I've not done a video for a couple of days. YouTube doesn't like it when I do a video about Sarah Sharif. It obviously flags something up. It is a, you know, a very sort of sad case, isn't it? And anything involving children is even sadder than most, you know, and every, you know, on a true crime channel, obviously it's not, you're never doing sort of happy cases, are you? Because by the nature of it. But always, of course, the children's cases are just that little bit worse, aren't they? Or a lot worse even, because they're vulnerable in our society. Children, you know, adults, although it's awful, obviously, when an adult gets murdered, but and especially in domestic situation, but there's always the feeling that an adult can take themselves out of that situation, can do something. A child can't do anything. You know, couldn't, Sarah couldn't leave and go and live on her own. You know, she can't do that. She's 10 years old. So, you know, at least adults have a chance. They can ring someone. They can maybe go to a shelter or something. There's options, some options. But a child has no options. Now, for some reason, and I'm not sure why, it may have been to do with permanency of address, or maybe the fact that Sarah's mum, Olga, maybe she was in Poland, because Sarah had a brother who is with, oh no, the brother is with the twonks as well. Yeah, so Irfan and Olga had two children, a boy and a girl. Sarah and her brother, who hasn't been named, and they both stayed with Irfan when Olga and Irfan split up, which is strange because, you know, for a court to give custody to the father rather than the mother, there's got to be something really bad, because courts tend to, don't they, naturally give custody to mothers rather than fathers. That's just what they do. They might give joint custody, but it's unusual for them to give custody to the father. So I'm not sure why that was. Whether there was a problem with Olga maybe not living in the country, or maybe she didn't have an address, or I don't know what the reason for that is. Anyway, they both went to live with Irfan and his new wife, Baynash, or his new partner. I'm not sure if they were married. And then they had 4 other children. So poor Sarah had to live with these 2 twonks. They then had 4 other children, and they all seemed to live together in this house. So there would have been 6 children. So Irfan, Baynash, and then Faisal, and 6 children living in that house. So although it's quite a nice house by the look of it, reasonably big, not that big for all those people. Yeah. 9 people altogether living in that house. Irfan is a taxi driver. Baynash, as far as I know, isn't working. And as far as Faisal's concerned, I don't know what he does. So there they were, all living in this house. For whatever reason, that Olga had failed to get custody, but she didn't. But it seems to be, I mean, of course, we don't know, because Irfan, and the day after he killed Sarah, or Sarah died, or whatever he says now, that Baynash, Baynash killed Sarah. Whatever happened with Sarah, the very next day, they were on a plane to Pakistan, all of them. So the 3 adults and the 5 remaining children were all on a plane to Pakistan. And they went there. They've left the children there. The children haven't come back. Although we think it seems likely, doesn't it, that the children were all taken there. Get them out of the way. They can't be witnesses now. Because they're still there in Pakistan, and we don't have an extradition treaty with Pakistan, but we have quite a good relationship with them. So the Pakistani police, to be fair, they did make those twonks' life a misery in Pakistan, and also their families' lives misery, by breaking in to their homes, the police, this is, and, generally making their life difficult. So I think the reason why these twonks gave themselves up in the end and voluntarily came back to the UK was probably because nobody wanted anything to do with them anymore. The family was sick of being hounded, and also maybe when they found out what had happened to Sarah, hopefully their own conscience. Anyway, they came back. So the 3 adults came back. The 3 that are on trial at the moment for Sarah's murder, they came back and they were arrested immediately when they came back to Gatwick. But the children are still in Pakistan. Okay, so let's have a look at an update. So I think I've done updates up to maybe Tuesday, or maybe this week I haven't done an update. I don't know. Last week I was doing updates of the first couple of days of the trial. So let's hear the latest updates. And again, just a warning, they're not nice things to hear about. So, if you're very sensitive, it's probably better that you don't watch. But, if you want to know the facts, as I do, to me, I want to know all the facts, and I just want to see those 3 go away for good. Go away in the way of go to prison for good. So let's have a look. So there's lots of articles. Now let's have a look at this BBC one from a couple of days ago. So one of the teachers saw Sarah Sharif's bruised face, the jury was told. You just feel like Sarah's death could have been avoided. So it was August last year she was found deceased. but just feel like now all these people, and I'm not blaming them because it's nobody's fault except the people who did it, but it feels like there were so many red flags. Sarah should have been taken away from this family. So Sarah Sharif's teacher twice saw her at school with bruises on her face, 5 months before she was found dead. Helen Simmons told the Old Bailey that Sarah said she'd fallen over on some roller skates after she saw her injuries in March 2023. Sarah's body was found with dozens of injuries at her family home in Woking in August last year. So her father, Irfan Sharif, 42, stepmother Baynash Batul, 30, and uncle Faisal Malik have denied murder. So remember, we'd previously heard that Sarah had been hooded, burned, bitten, and beaten during more than 2 years of abuse. So Miss Simmons, who was Sarah's teacher in year 4 and year 5, said she saw a bruise on the underside of her chin and one on her cheek. She said that after that, Sarah did not give after Sarah did not give a consistent account of her injuries, her school, St Mary's Primary in West Byfleet, made a referral to social services. More than 2 weeks later, Miss Batul marched towards her and told her and said that Sarah had a bruise on her face. The court heard. She told me it was made by a pen. She said, before I jumped to conclusions again, it was just a pen. It was very strange. It felt very defensive. So this is the Twankess who said that Sarah's death was an incident. I wouldn't be surprised if she did it, to be honest. I don't know who did it. I mean, to me, they all did it. But I just wouldn't be surprised if she did it. There's sort of like, although the boy, of course, there was a boy that was Olga's as well. But I feel that the key to this, the reason that they treated Sarah so badly is resentment of Sarah's mother, Olga, because she looks like her mother quite a lot. And maybe Irfan was angry with the mother for whatever. Maybe he didn't want to split up. Maybe he was still in love with Olga. This woman, maybe she was jealous of Olga. I don't feel that the other twonk, Faisal, I don't think he was the killer, though I think he looked the other way, so he's just as guilty as far as I'm concerned. But I think it's one of these two that killed her, probably a combination of the two over years. But I think the root of the reason for it is Olga. Don't know why, I just do. And I think, what do you think? Obviously, let me know what you think. You might disagree. That's fine. But to me, I feel like Olga's sort of the root of it for some reason. Maybe they thought because maybe Sarah was a bit more, what's the word? Maybe she did talk back a bit more than the other children. Who knows? But, I'd be surprised if she did after all these beatings she took. Maybe it started off one day because maybe she gave a bit of back chat, kids do. And then after she received this terrible treatment, I cannot believe that Sarah would have carried on answering back and things, even if that's what happened. I'm not justifying what they've done. Obviously, nothing justifies the treatment they've given Sarah, but it just makes you wonder if maybe one day she did back chat a little bit. Is that where it started? And maybe there's this sort of feeling that because her mum was not a Muslim, her mum was Polish Catholic, that, she was different. I don't know, but I just feel like Olga's the key somehow. So why have they been so cruel to Sarah? Why? Is there like jealousy from Baynash? Because Sarah was not her daughter, her biological daughter? Or was it Irfan just taking out his hatred of Olga on Sarah, maybe? Thing is, now they're not, they'll never say. They probably don't even know what the reason is. So, Miss Simmons also said that Sarah had twice been taken out of school for homeschooling. Once in June 2022, probably because she had black eyes, etc. And again after April 2023. She said on the first occasion, the school wanted to understand why her father and stepmother said they were worried about her progress at school and her friendships. Miss Simmons describes Sarah as essentially a happy child, often bubbly, and said that at times she could be sassy. Now, this is the teacher saying this. She could be very spirited and quite bold and fierce in what she wanted to say. Gosh, it surprises me that she had any of that left in her after what she had to put up with. She loved to be on the stage and singing and performing. That was her happy space. Earlier, the jury heard from Usman Chowdhury and his sister Fatima Chowdhury, who was a class assistant at Sarah's school. They both said that they had heard Miss Batul swearing at Sarah's siblings in Punjabi. And Mr. Chowdhury said he had also seen Miss Batul and Ms. Batul dragging the children. Why do people have children? I can understand if someone has one child because they don't realise how difficult it is. I mean, it is difficult bringing up children. It's very difficult. And you do get frustrated sometimes, don't you? But then why go on and have another 4? Do you know what I mean? It's like if you've learned from having one child how difficult it is, you're not going to go on and have a load more, are you? The court previously heard Mr. Sharif, Miss Batul and Mr. Malik were arrested in the UK after they had travelled to Islamabad, Pakistan on the 9th of August, the day before Sarah's body was found. The 3 defendants are also charged with causing or allowing the death of a child, which they deny. Now, let's have a look at this because this was interesting as well. So apparently a neighbour went round there. Sarah's neighbour had the door shut in her face, the jury was told. That was brave of her to go round to the house. I wish she would have been brave enough to phone the police. A neighbour of Sarah Sharif who tried to inquire about screaming coming from inside the 10-year-old's home had the door shut in her face, a court was told. Rebecca Spencer, who lived in a flat above the Sharif's previous family home in West Byfleet, said she heard constant crying and banging, which on one occasion reached fever pitch. She told jurors she'd gone to the address and asked if everything was okay. Sarah's stepmother, Baynash, told her, yes, yes, before she shut the door in my face. Miss Batul, 30, and Sarah's father, Irfan, have denied murder along with Mr. Sharif's brother, Faisal. The trial at the Old Bailey continues. So, yeah, unfortunately, it was brave of her, very, very brave. I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do that, to actually go around, knock on the door, but I would definitely phone the police. If I heard that, if there were children involved, how could you not really? How could you not? Right, let's go back to that. Here's another article. So all these things are coming out now, things that we probably could have guessed, but they're actually coming out now as evidence. Screaming pain alarmed the neighbour 2 days before she died. 2 days before she died, a neighbour considered calling the police after she heard a girl scream in pain 2 days before Sarah Sharif died. So those 3, they're accused of carrying out a weeks-long campaign of abuse against a 10-year-old girl, culminating in her death on August the 8th last year. So this is the house, and as we've said before, looks like such a lovely, peaceful house, doesn't it? With the flowers in the garden, it's well kept, it's clean, tidy. Just never know. And that little girl was left there on her own in one of the bedrooms while they flew off to Pakistan and left their daughter's dead body in a bunk bed in her little pajamas. Terrible. So Sarah's body was found in a bunk bed at her home in Woking in Surrey. And it was Irfan, of course, who alerted the police, having fled with the family to Pakistan. A dental expert found probable human bites to Sarah's left forearm and inner left leg, which Sharif and Malik excluded as the possible biters. Gosh, so that sounds like her, doesn't it then? Is it her? So why doesn't it say, I'm just wondering why it says Sharif and Malik were excluded as the possible biters, but it doesn't go so far to say that Bainash was the biter. In addition, there was a burn on Sarah's buttock, likely inflicted intentionally with a domestic iron, scald into both feet and signs of restraint with bindings. So last August the 11th, Fiona Mellon spoke to officers carrying out house-to-house inquiries and described hearing a child scream about 5 days before. At the time, she was working on her computer in her kitchen with patio doors open about 4:30, 5:30. Just wondering why she didn't phone the police, but... In a statement, she said, I just heard one scream for a couple of seconds that stopped suddenly like a young female voice. It didn't sound good. This is a quiet area and it's unusual. It seemed like someone in pain. And it was so out of the ordinary, I wondered to myself whether I should tell someone like the police, but she didn't. I went to the rear patio doors. I did not see anyone and everything was quiet. I couldn't tell where the scream had come from. I didn't hear another scream or any noise, so I did not take it any further. But she did add, apart from Sarah's family, there were no other young children living in the immediate vicinity. In the 5 days before police attended, I did not see the family at all, which is unusual. Do you think that Sarah maybe was ill for a few days, but they just didn't ring the hospital? Maybe she was unresponsive, maybe she was ill for a couple of days and in the end she just died. Maybe they tried to sort of keep her alive, but her said she didn't see the family at all in 5 days before the police attended. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Maybe she didn't die instantly. Anyway, Miss Mellon said she'd only spoken to Sarah twice, but she seemed like a spirited and outgoing girl. On the surface, the Sharif seemed like a happy family, but the neighbour noted that the mother needed support. Jurors heard. Wonder what that means. It's spotless. Is that can't be their house, surely. That's spotless, isn't it? There's washing in the washing machine, but it's gleaming, isn't it? I wish my kitchen looked like that. Teaching assistant Hayley Holden, who had helped Sarah with her spelling, described seeing bruising on her face, which led to a referral from the school. And she described Sarah as a bubbly, confident, chatty, engaging child who would dance, sing and put on a show for her. Oh. And she said she was a little feisty. If she had an opinion, she would voice it. And she was not afraid to answer back. She never spoke about her home life. Yeah, sometimes people try and cover up abuse like that. I knew someone who did that. Like putting on this brave face. Sometime after Easter 2023, Miss Holden saw what looked like bruising on Sarah's face, which looked like someone had tried to cover it up. When the headmistress asked Sarah about it, she immediately shrank back. pulled her hijab down and would not talk about it. The girl's reaction convinced Miss Holden that something was wrong, and the school made the appropriate referral. On another occasion, Sarah came into class and put her arms on the desk and put her head in her hands, Miss Holden said. When asked what was wrong, she turned her head away and would not speak, but was back to normal half an hour later. You know, it's amazing what children can cover up. Another neighbour, Brennan Lozeron, said Sarah's hijab hid her face so that he could only see her eyes, which he found slightly strange, particularly as no one else in the family wore Asian dress. He said he never saw any injuries, but he added, in truth, on Sarah you would not know, as she was so covered up. And he said that they appeared to be a happy family. It's amazing what happens in these happy families, isn't it? It is amazing. And the other thing I wanted to read out was she never smiled once in the months before her deaths. So Sarah Sharif never smiled once in months before death, jury told by a neighbour. Yet she's smiling on every photo, isn't she? Do you think that smile reaches her eyes, bless her? Makes you wonder what injuries she had then when she had that photo taken. Oh, this is that Judith Lozeron, yeah. She said, never was she smiling when I saw her, not one time. I was told she was bullied at school for wearing a hijab and she was being homeschooled because of it. Every single time I saw her, she wore a hijab, but she was the only member of the family who did that. Mrs. Lozeron said she would often see and chat with members of the family in the adjoining garden, and they were always very nicely dressed and quite smart, but she did not see Sarah as much as the other family members. Oh, this is that video of when they go into the house. Let's have another look. Very haunting. Poor Sarah's up there on the bed, alone, deceased.
Police! Drive the door open.
Just to bear in mind, so now has just self-contact until he's currently driving back to the address. He said he cannot give more details.
Police, hello, anyone in?
Very hysterical on the phone, they're really struggling. Oh, Steve. There's only one person linked to the address on both. There's Ian Sleet. That doesn't match the name.
Police, hello?
Yeah. And then, of course, they went upstairs and found little Sarah. So she said, Mrs. Lozeron said the last time she saw the 10-year-old was when the family hosted a birthday party in the garden, 23rd of July last year. She said Sarah was sat in a garden chair with a baby, accompanied by 2 aunts. And when asked about her impressions on how Sarah was treated by the family, she told the court she thought it strange that the girl didn't mix more with the family, with the whole family. She said she felt some separateness, which she did not understand and thought was odd. So then this other witness, Usman Chowdhury, told jurors he had seen Sarah with bruises on her face and under her eye when he dropped his child off at school. He said Sarah was wearing a headscarf, but rather than just covering her hair, it was worn very low, almost covering her forehead. And jurors were previously told Sarah suffered more than 70 injuries shortly before she was found dead. Okay, so I think that's enough. I think, well, that is the updates. This is the testimony that's been heard in the court. it's hard listening it to, isn't it? Hard reading, hard listening to. Must be even worse for the jury, you know, because they'll be shown, you know, more photos and things. It'd be a very distressing case to be a juror on, and it obviously it's distressing. I mean, I don't know about the rest of Sarah's family, like her aunts and things like that. I mean, I don't know if her mum's going along to the trial, Olga. How will it be for her? Let's see if I can find something, any comment by her on this. Don't know if she's going along to the trial or if she's still in Poland. So apparently, Sarah's mother, Olga, met Irfan Sharif shortly after he moved to Britain from Jhelum in Pakistan in 2001. Let's see. So that must be where he's from originally. I mean, I don't know Pakistan. I have no idea about the geography of Pakistan. But he is from Jhelum. Jhelum, is it? Let's see. Yeah, Jhelum. Jhelum. Sorry, I'm just reading through this. So yeah, they met shortly after he moved to Britain from Jhelum in Pakistan in 2001. Apparently they were both working at Burger King, according to the Sunday Times. They married in 2009 and had a son so their son is now 13. So he's older than Sarah. Let me just put Sarah's picture up there. So they had a son who's now 13, and then they had Sarah in 2013. When the couple separated in 2015, their two children initially lived with Olga, but in 2019, the family court decided that they should live with their father. I wonder why. Anyway, Olga still had equal rights to see the children, but apparently it became increasingly difficult to maintain over time. Dear me. So it's very sad, isn't it? On so many levels, because you feel like there's opportunities that Sarah could have been saved. Well, if she would have been allowed to stay with her mother, if she would have been allowed, if the school or the neighbours would have been more insistent with social services, or if social services would have been more insistent, like, and more on the ball. You know, you do feel that there's a lot of opportunities missed here in Sarah's case, don't you? That it's not a case that was inevitable. Sometimes cases are inevitable, you feel. Though I suppose there's always a different way that any case can go. But this particular one, you do feel very strongly that this case could have been different. You know, that instead of talking about, you know, we might be talking about Sarah, the terrible time she'd had, but she would still be alive, at least. If she would have been taken away sooner from this home, you know, just gotten out of there. So there is more to come. It's another good few weeks left of this trial, so we'll see what comes out as the trial goes on. At the moment, they seem to be, you know, right concerned with all the witness testimonies, etc. And, you know, they make depressing reading or listening to, don't they? So But I will keep you updated, of course, of anything that comes up that I hear about this trial. We're following this as hard as it is. We followed Sarah's case from the beginning, right from the beginning. Gosh, last August, when this all started, over a year ago, when Sarah's body was found, we've been invested in this case, and we're going to follow it through to the end, as sort of traumatic as it may be, because Sarah deserves people to care about her, and she deserves justice, and she's going to get it. She's going to get justice, because at least one, if not all of these twonks are going down for life, hopefully, for Sarah's murder. Bless her little heart. Okay, so I'll see you soon.